Hello, it's time for the Plym Piecemakers demonstration video again, and this month we're using another of the Quilters Guild Tutor Boxes, and Alice has kindly chosen tutor box number 7 to start us off, which is called Tiger Tiger. Now for Tiger Tiger you're going to need to cut some strips or some pieces of fabric that are 7 inches long by 9 inches wide, and we're going to stack those up one on top of the other like that. And the next thing we do, without using our ruler, we cut some nice, and I would suggest some gentle curves to start us off. Not too wavy, and again some curves. Put the blade away. Now what we need to do once we've got that, we simply alternate them like so. And we join them back together. So we've got one more to go on there. It's important that you don't end up putting them on the wrong way, or you'll have an awful job trying to get those seams to match up. So we'd give that a nice good press. So we'll give that a little press now, and they can be trimmed up to 6.5 inches square. Now this is my wheelie chair. Now what you can't do with this particular wheelie chair, especially when you've put a lovely plastic mat on the floor to protect your carpet, you cannot use it as a device to stand on in order to open those windows. Because when you do that, what happens is that the chair goes over here and you come crashing down and hit your head over here. So it's a really bad idea to use this as any form of a step ladder. And if you want to open the window, it's probably best to get some other device to stand on. Down to 6.5 inches, which I've got a nice ruler that will do that. Didn't quite get the rotary cutter through there, but we'll just trim that bit off. And so we've got one block. We've got 2 blocks. Now if you wanted to make the sample as in the tutor box pattern, you would carry on now and make more of the blocks. And join them together a bit like a rail fence. And I think you can see here it can look quite effective. She's also used it as a background here for some applique trees, which is another workshop that Paula and I have done. But that is the actual block. Now what I propose to do is to make sort of a modern sampler quilt, so I'm going to leave it at just the 2 blocks and to put those with the other tutor box samples that I'm doing today into a little mini quilt. So the next one we're going to look at in a moment is going to be this one, which is the eccentric crosses. This one says it's tutor box number 10, it's actually tutor box number 9. They made a mistake on the numbering there. But yes, eccentric crosses. And the other one that I thought we could do is the straight crosses. Now I may do the straight crosses first because that's probably a little bit simpler than, we got more curved piecing again with the eccentric ones. So I thought I would demonstrate first with the straight crosses, and I've got a 7-inch square of fabric here. What we need to do, this is a lovely ruler called Yvonne. It's a new concept I think Andy's got at Crafty UK, where you can name your rulers whatever you want to call them really. So this one's called Yvonne, and my mum's name was Yvonne, so it's particularly appropriate for me to use Yvonne to cut this nice square. We're going to sort of do it at a slight jaunty angle, not too much, because I haven't cut I've only cut these 7 inches as opposed to a little bit more for good luck. So you make one cut in there, and then insert your strip into the opening. So then once we've sewn that into there, we're going to turn our strip and we will then cut it again, and then we'll insert our second strip down there. But before I do that, I need to sew this one in the first place. This is another nice Crafty UK ruler. This one is exactly 10 inches square. Most of the rulers you can buy have got the extra 1/2 inch put on for seam allowances. like this Omni Grid one. It's got an extra 1/2 inch, and Andy does them as well with the extra 1/2 inch. But what I wanted to do with this one, and the reason I asked him to make me this one, was because when I'm doing my westerly quilting, you just want to lay something on the fabric and draw around it exactly 10 inches. So this is why I've chosen one that is, in this case, exactly 10 inches. And you can make a ruler whatever size you want, but I've got to say I really like this one. You'd probably want to give that a good press before you do the next bit, but it looks fairly flat to me. So we're using Yvonne again here. Make a nice little slice. Insert your strip. Now, because this is grown now, you can see that my strip is not really long enough, so I can't be bothered to cut anymore. I'm just going to insert that one by there. So he's not perfect, but there's our little cross. Now we've made a cross here, but you could easily now go on to make either a basket weave or a star block. If you wanted to make a star block, you would take your ruler, whichever one, and slice it corner to corner, and you want to make sure you get it through your cross, and then you would insert one of the pieces of one of the little strips through corner to corner to give yourself a star. Once you've done that, you could then do the same thing through the other side and insert another strip, and you would get a star. But today we're only making crosses. All nice and pressed. Turn the iron off. So we've got a lovely block with the cross. This one is the straight cross, and you can see we've got the starting of a very interesting modern quilt. It's time to move on for the eccentric crosses. So that would be tutor box number 9. Here it is. And for this we need to have our square of fabric and 2 contrast strips slightly longer than my square. So if I cut my square, I've got a square here which is 7 inches. So we're going to join that into there, and then once we've sewn that into there, we've joined this one here. So what we want to do now is leave at least ½ inch of your strip showing, and try and match the curve you've got here, and cut through this. So remember, you've got quarter of an inch seam allowance. It depends how wide you want your cross. That looks about okay to me. So I'm going to try and cut a matching curve there, so we can join that one on. So what we want to do now is leave at least, remember you've got quarter of an hour. So there it is, it's not too bad. It needs join that one into there. So there's our little block. That one needs a press, and we can trim that one up as well. So our little sampler I'm making another block where I'm going to do the weave, and on this block I have put a strip into the center of a 7-inch square. So at 3.5 inches I've made a cut and inserted this strip, and then I've rotated it by 90 degrees and then inserted another strip through the center again there, and then I've rotated it 90 degrees, and now I've cut another strip, another cut 1.5 inches away from that center edge, and I will insert a peach strip in here. And then when that's in, so I'll put another one in here. When I've sewn this one in, I'll rotate it 90 degrees and I'll cut 1 inch away from this line again. And when I've finished, it will look like a weave, so I'll carry on. And I've added that extra strip 1.5 inches from this center one, and now I've rotated it 90 degrees, and I'm going to cut again 1.5 inches from the edge of that strip, and then I'm going to insert another peach strip into there. If you were using different coloured strips, it would look more like the weave, but I just want to have the peach woven into the green fabric, so the strip has gone in now here, and so again with that one at the top, I rotated it by 90 degrees, and I'm going to cut again 1.5 inches away from the center strip, and then I'm going to insert another peach, coral, whatever colour it is, into that gap, and then it will be time to rotate it 90 degrees again. But I think you can already see the effect that we're going to get. I've inserted the strip on the right hand side, and what I need to do now to insert the final strip on this weave block is to turn it by 90 degrees. Then for the final one, it's 1.5 inches again from that center block, and then I'll insert the final coral strip, and we will have a weave effect block. Here's the finished weave block, and I think you can see the last strip that went in was this one going across the top, and if you look at the others, you can see that this one comes underneath that one, this one's underneath, over the top of the middle one, and then underneath. It is like a weave block, and if you'd use different coloured strips, you would see the weave a little bit more effectively. But I think that's a nice addition to my little modern quilt that I'm making with the tutor boxes today. I have completed my tutor box sample, save for hand sewing the binding. Here it is. I've done a mixture of the tutor boxes. There's a straight cross, tiger, another straight cross. There's one of the eccentric crosses there, more tiger, and a weave block in the middle. And I've quilted it with a sort of orange peel pattern, which was by the straight lines were done with a walking foot, and then free motion quilted the orange peel. I cheated because if you look at the backing fabric, you can see that I just free motioned on the outline of those petal shapes, but I'm quite pleased with how it's turned out. And I've done a combination of green and batik binding, which just needs to be hand sewn on the back, and I'm quite pleased with it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but it'll go in my box of samples, I think. Maybe MacDog would like it as a quilt, but there it is. That's my tutor box sample, and this is my Scotty. Paula gave me a kit a while ago when she went to Gloucester for a weekend, and this is little Scotty. He's grey and blue and pink, and he's got kitty litter in his feet, so he's quite nice. So there we are, and I'll save any other show and tell until we have our meeting